Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm Adam.
Fletch?
Welcome to... You know what? I'm changing the damn name.
You can't?
It's just the BSI Comics Podcast.
Okay. Except it's a vodcast and not a podcast.
People do video podcasts. And it's going to be called the BSI Comics Podcast. It rolls off the tongue. Let me straighten out the camera a little bit.
Make sure to tell him you like the other name better. Tweet him.
Suck it.
Moving
Anyway,
on.
so we're going to make this one quick because you're going to Wizard World Austin.
I'm going to Wizard World Austin.
You're going to drive for like...
8 hours.
Yeah. It's going to be nice
Mm-hmm.
with someone who's a little bit mentally unhinged, but good guy.
Yeah.
So we're going to run through this. We got a couple stories for y'all today. Normally I have them up on the screen, but that didn't work today. So, first of all...
He's really just checking his messages.
I'm getting texts from all the honeys.
What's the
Anyway,
first on
so the first story.
on the docket?
So there's a book coming out, I guess in a couple months, called Love is Love. And you probably haven't heard of it. It's just making the rounds. I think it's being published by DC, but I'm not positive.
I believe so.
Because Batwoman's on the cover.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be a benefit for the shootings of the the people who were shot in Orlando, the terrorism thing. I just really trivialized a bunch of that stuff. You know, the people that were killed, the 50 people
In Orlando.
Yes,
Yes.
in the Orlando nightclub. And so there's a bunch of creators, some of them gay, some of them not. Some notable names like Mark Andreyko, Kieran Gillen. A lot of the other names escape me, but it's going to be a cool book.
It's pretty cool. Go check it
It's
out.
going to be a little bit expensive. It's $9.99, but it goes to a good cause.
Right.
The other thing is, I want to say it's 144 pages.
It's a big book. It's not just
Right.
It's not just your thick stapled together floppy.
But even if it wasn't, it's for a good cause. A lot of people lost their lives. The other ones probably have some huge medical bills. So help a brother out. So I guess we'll probably let people know when that is about to come out.
We'll definitely be getting.
I don't know. We'll definitely have some. Okay, good news. So, but if you're not near New Orleans, check with your local comic shop. They might have some copies as well. Next thing, keep saying cancel. I don't want to cancel. So, the DC Talent Writers Workshop.
Yes.
This was big news a while back. We didn't really cover it because it's not entirely relevant. But basically, DC put out this call looking for professional writers.
It's like a casting call.
Well, for an internship, though.
Right.
They weren't looking for somebody to write a new book. They were looking for professional writers who were interested in being taught a class on how to write comics the DC way. The class is being taught by Scott Snyder. And there were a lot of people that applied, and a lot of people that kind of called bullcrap on it and said this is going to turn out to be a scam.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if scam is the word I would use, but they turned out to be right on the money.
Yeah, it's not a scam. Just
it wasn't fraud, but the casting call made it seem as if they were looking to give a chance to new writers who were looking for a way to break in the industry. Because if you're not a creator yourself, basically breaking into comics is like breaking out of prison. If somebody digs a tunnel, you can't use the same tunnel. You got to find your own way in. So this
or
was
make a connection on the outside.
Something like that. Somebody has to send you a thing, a file, and a cake. Anyway, so some people were excited because they thought, well, this might be my chance to make it in the industry, and especially for writers because it's not easy no matter what. But I would say it's probably a little easier for artists to break into the industry if you can get some eyes on your work, as long as you're up to snuff.
Right.
Writing's a little bit harder because it's not like people will just sit there and read your manuscript.
It's easy to show somebody a picture and they're like, "Wow, that looks great." Read this.
Yeah, it takes 2 seconds to see if you've got storytelling skills when you're an artist.
Right.
But the writer, they actually have to read the stuff. So, so they announced all the people who won the contest, and it's people who are actually largely more accomplished than Scott Snyder. There's one woman in there that actually wrote an episode of The Walking Dead. A lot of these people are like Saturn Award winners, stuff like that. They're all people who've actually done something and probably wouldn't have that hard a time to actually get at least a backup or something like that in a comic, one way or the other. I mean, that's cool. One of them, after the class, or maybe a couple of them, will actually be writing at least one DC book. But yeah, a lot of young artists really disappointed that they never had a shot because they just weren't accomplished enough. I guess.
I think it was just a case of poor advertising.
I think DC got what they wanted out of it, which was mostly publicity, but whatever.
Right on.
So the last two stories that we're going to talk about, and one of them isn't really even a story, but I'll lead with it. They're both about books that are coming out. So Valiant's been publishing a book called Divinity in miniseries. We just ended the second one. I believe it's in trade now, isn't it? If you're not familiar with Valiant, they were a really big company in the 90s. They used to do a lot of licenses like, not Exo-Man, Solar Man of the Atom.
Right. Harbinger.
Harbinger wasn't a license. They created.
Oh, not a license. I'm sorry.
The Magnus Robot Fighter.
Right.
And then they went on to create their own comics. Harbinger was a big one.
Bloodshot.
No, Turok was a license.
I like to tell everybody they're kind of the best comics you're not reading.
Right, so they came back, I guess, about 3 years ago? No, maybe a little longer than that. Something like that. 3 or 4 years ago, and they had a big splash, and they're still hanging in there. But Divinity's a newer property. It wasn't something they revamped from their old stuff, and it's been doing pretty well. You've read it, right?
Yeah. The Valiant stuff's really, really good. It's just kind of hard to give somebody something that's not one of the major publishers and have.
Well, it's not one of the big two, but Valiant's still a pretty big company. Yeah. But there are a lot of people who did read the 90s stuff who are coming in and checking out the new stuff. But Divinity's been a pretty big book for them, and they just announced the third miniseries, and it's called Divinity 3 Stalinverse. So I'm going to be a little rude about it and point out that this seems like a Superman Red Sun situation, but so I understand Divinity is a character that has the ability to sort of remold the universe.
Yep.
So it's somewhere between that and Age of Apocalypse, really. But they've announced one of the miniseries spinning off of it. It's called Commander Bloodshot, Commander with a K. So it's Bloodshot redesigned as if Stalin had, won World War II or something like that, and Russia basically rules the world.
It's a cool concept, though.
It looks really cool.
Right.
I gotta say that Commander Bloodshot look, it's very Russian. He's got a bald head, one of those, and a hatchet that I guess he cuts people up with. And
the Bloodshot Reborn series was one of my favorite when the Valiant relaunch happened and everything. Tried to get a lot of people to read it. We had some trades. We were lending out library style. Everybody that read it dug it. So expect more of the same. They have some really, really talented artists that get books out. We see a lot of Marvel and DC books that get pushed back and are late. I don't know how some of these guys get a book out a month doing the kind of work that they do.
But yeah, so check out some of the Valiant stuff, especially Divinity, if you want to try something new.
Right.
Volumes 1 and 2 are already out. Each one is self-contained. Mm-hmm. They're miniseries. So, but I'm really excited about Stalinverse. It looks cool, and I'm gonna have to actually catch up because I haven't read any of the Divinity stuff so far.
Cool.
The last comic story that we're going to talk about is something that made a bit of the rounds because Dan Slott, the writer of Amazing Spider-Man, reached out to retailers. If you haven't been reading Spider-Man in a while, Dan Slott's been on for, I'd say, like 4 years now, something like that.
Yeah, if not a little longer.
And he's the writer that took over after the Brand New Day, where they had revolving creative teams, and he became the steady voice. He was the person who spearheaded and is totally responsible for Superior Spider-Man, where Doc Ock essentially killed Peter Parker for a while. And on a couple of those occasions, he's written to retailers and said, you under-order on a comic. Now, comics retailers have a certain amount of time for which they can purchase comics to get first printings, and sometimes only printings.
Right.
So if there's a key issue that retailers don't know about, he wants us to know.
Well, before the internet, you used to get a phone call or
Yeah, there used to be sales reps that would do
right, and they'd be like, hey, you might want to bump your orders up on this book. Something big is going to happen. And that was before things could get spoiled or we knew kind of what was going on.
So, Dan Slott's done this 3 times. One of them was, I want to say, Amazing Spider-Man number 698. I think that's the issue where Peter sort of dies or whatever.
Yeah, the last big time that it happened was that, when he said, like, look.
No, there was one more time. There was one more time in between. I don't remember what it was, but there was one time in between. But it doesn't matter. Point is, he's only done this. This is the 3rd time he's done it, and he's saying that retailers are severely underordered on a book called Clone Conspiracy. Now, I want to preface this by saying that this is going to confuse the hell out of our readers, because it is not titled Spider-Man Clone Conspiracy. It's going to be a book sort of off in the corner. That said, Dan Slott is claiming that Clone Conspiracy number 1, and for the length of Clone Conspiracy, which I want to say is 5 issues, it is the main Spider-Man title. So Amazing Spider-Man gets backed up to a secondary title. This is sort of like when Green Lantern went through Blackest Night.
Right.
Blackest Night was the main title.
But there was still a Green Lantern book.
Right. That interweaved. And so they're saying that Amazing Spider-Man is going to be is going to be the second most important title, and they're also saying Silk's going to be involved. Mm-hmm. And then obviously there'll be some other tie-ins that'll be less important. Yeah, like books like Prowler. But it's something to keep your eye out on. We're trying to work to maybe do something big for when it does come out. We want y'all to know we did up our orders because, again, like if this is as big as Superior Spider-Man.
Sometimes I think they're just crying wolf. But like you said, last time he's done it, it's a pretty big deal.
It's a big deal.
Right.
And so if you're a Spider-Man fan, you definitely want to check out Clone Conspiracy number 1. I think it's coming out in 2 months. Mm-hmm. No, wait, it's less than that.
It's less than 2 months.
Because the final order cut off, so next month sometime?
Yeah.
So we'll keep you apprised, and hopefully we will be able to do something big. And if not, then I'll look like
if you want a copy, definitely come in and let me know so I can put you down for it to make sure we can guarantee it.
Right. So you want to do recommendations really quick? And then
I don't really have a book.
You have something that you
I have something, but it's not really a book.
Well, why don't you recommend that?
Why don't you go ahead and recommend your book first, and I will show you this really cool thing that I have.
Okay, so I actually just posted a video recommending the book I'm about to recommend live on Facebook, because that's a thing now where people do the live Facebook feeds.
They shoot guns too. Bang, bang.
Anyway, but I want to do it here too because I'm such a fan. Now, I'm one of many people who was very disappointed with the way DC handled Superman in the New 52. To me, the biggest bungling in the New 52 was Superman. It wasn't Superman anymore. He was dark. He was broody. I go to Batman to read Batman. I don't go to Superman to read Batman. And I got to say that I know we've really been pushing Rebirth, but that's because I wouldn't be pushing if I didn't like it. I made a deal with Jason a long time ago that said I'm not reviewing something if I don't like it.
We're all pretty much the same way around here, though. If you ask us, we're going to give you our honest opinion, like it or not.
Rebirth's been not all great, but largely very good. And one of the highlights for me is that Superman is back. The books that he's in feel like Superman again. And if you're with me and you hated New 52 Superman, but you haven't given Rebirth a chance yet, please check out issue 7 of Superman. Just came out this week. If you're in Metairie, New Orleans, come check it out because we've got a bunch of copies still.
First, we're okay to jump on right at 7.
Yes, because the first arc was really cool. You can start with issue 1. That's no problem if we have it. But if not,
I should still have some.
Right.
The trade should be rolling out soon anyway.
Right. But I don't think we've heard yet. But even if you don't start with issue 1, issue 7's fine. It's more of a quiet tale. It's not Superman fighting Darkseid or saving the universe. It does start with a little bit of that, like seeing him interact with other heroes. But largely what it's about is the life that he and the Lois Lane we grew up with and their new son, Jonathan, the life that they live out on a farm somewhere. And it's a very quiet tale. Got a lot of great moments. But the takeaway from it is that our Superman is back. This feels like Superman. This feels like Clark Kent. There's no brooding. There's just a good old-fashioned all-American farm boy who wants to raise his family and help people. And the highlight of the issue for me is Jorge Jimenez. He's not the regular artist on this book. The regular artist is Patrick Gleason. He did one fill-in issue prior, which was issue 3, and I instantly fell in love with his art. He's actually my favorite new artist, Jorge Jimenez. He's actually going to be also drawing Super Sons when that comes out, which is the book that's going to have Jonathan Kent and Damian Wayne, the sons of Batman and Superman. And if his art here is any indication, that book is going to be amazing, but I don't think that's coming out till next year. I think they pushed it back. But Superman issue 7, it's a very unassuming cover, but just ask us about it. And obviously, old school Superman logo. Please come check it out. I'm not even a big Superman fan. I mean, I guess anybody that talks to me knows that. These books are good. Good, fun, classic soup stuff. Right. So what I have is Marvel started doing these covers, hip-hop covers, like homage to hip-hop albums. Marvel usually has variants that have a theme. Right. And I guess this was 2-3 months ago now they started doing the hip-hop variant theme. This was last... This wasn't that long ago. Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, because like there was Scarlet Witch #1 had one, so it's been a few months. It was the last relaunch. The last relaunch, right. Okay, so it's been more than 3 months. Right. So somewhere, doesn't matter. Not too long ago. They did these really cool covers, like riffs on classic album covers and whatnot. Well, a lot of them were harder to get. We either sell out of them really fast or we had to reach some kind of crazy Marvel goal to be able to order them. Well, they've put out a hardcover with a collection of all of the cover art in one book, so you don't have to go around trying to hunt down all these different covers if you just want to check out the art. So it's really cool. If you're a big fan of hip-hop and Marvel Comics, not a bad pickup. How much is it? It is $34.99. Standard Marvel, it's like premiere size. It used to be the premiere size. So it's essentially an art book. Mm-hmm. But really cool coffee table book. Cool stuff. So, like I said, if you're a fan of hip-hop and Marvel, come check it out. All right, and I guess we're gonna end on that. And you're gonna go run to Austin? I'm gonna go run to Austin. All right, so read more comics? Definitely read more comics. Bye now.